Welcome to the Podcasting Mentor Podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to stop hiding and start showing up on the right stages without the burnout. I'm Candace, podcast guesting strategist, and your go-to for turning interviews into your favorite marketing and networking tool. And guess what? My podcast guesting accelerator is now enrolling for summer. Yep, this is your sign to finally get off the sidelines and into the spotlight. Like my client, Kelly, who landed 8 guest spots in a single week after we worked together. She called it a no-brainer and said she'd 1000% do it again. That's the power of intentional guesting, and that's exactly what will help you do. Let's get brave, let's get strategic, and let's get you heard. Head to the show notes for more details on my podcast guesting accelerator. Welcome back. Today I have another Candace on. You're the first other Candace that I actually know virtually now. Candace is a therapist turned burnout and balance coach for self-employed moms, and her goal is helping these moms build lives on their terms. And I love that, being a mom myself, trying to do that exact same thing. Welcome to the show. And why don't you just start off with just kind of give us a snapshot of a little bit more about what you do and who you help.
Happy to be here, first of all. Thank you. I work with moms, like you said. I work a lot with neurodivergent and chronically ill moms who are running their own businesses of various kinds, because the world's not exactly set up for moms and motherhood. And it's definitely not set up for chronically ill and neurodivergent people. Having our own way of working, doing things, building businesses, that kind of thing is important. But I focus on, I'm not a business coach. I focus on the work-life balance part, the burnout part, the part about just making it your own so that you're not living this totally stressed out life all the time, where things are going well for you and your family. How do you navigate that and put all those pieces in place? So that's what I do.
Amazing. And what was it like? I always like to ask this. Everyone's is so different. What was your transition into entrepreneurship?
Maternity leave is what shifted me into entrepreneurship, actually. I was working in community mental health, and I technically had been working for myself as well. Basically, since I started as a therapist, I had on the side of my community mental health jobs, I had some private practice hours, some like independent contracting hours that I did. But actual like entrepreneurship started because I went on maternity leave, and then I actually ended up working through maternity leave doing teaching online. That worked better for us because someone could be there for my daughter. Childcare is so expensive. I couldn't go back to work full time because how are we going to pay for childcare? And then I got pregnant right away again with my son. I was sick. I was in bed a lot. So it just ended up working for myself. At the time, I was doing teaching online and building a business that way. And it transitioned into coaching.
Awesome. So it's kind of like life kind of threw you some curveballs and you had to adjust. That makes sense.
Because all of that happened at the start of the pandemic too. So
oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
really?
Lots of curveballs there. So,
for sure. Yeah. Okay. What do you recommend for women who are wanting to grow a business and life without the burnout? Like, where do we even start? It can feel like there's so much to do, so little time.
One of the things that I always start with my clients is prioritization and values. So those two areas are the biggest pieces that are going to help you know what to take on, what to kind of leave to the side, where to pivot, how to align things with those. So with values, I like to sit down with clients and get really specific. What do you value? How are you living out those values right now? And what can you let go of that doesn't fall in line with that? For prioritization, it's like with my clients, there's energy levels that have to be considered. There is executive dysfunction things that we have to think about, because I work with a lot of ADHD and autistic moms, and it's like, we forget where things are put or what lists we have to make and things like that. So the prioritization helps so that they keep their list succinct and still accomplish what they want, while also moving them forward towards their goals. And the values help them make those prioritizations in line with what they actually value, not just what the world says they're supposed to do.
Like that you start with the value piece. It's like a very masculine thing to think about goals and the end goal and then just do anything and everything to get there. Yes, learning to kind of backwards plan and make sure things are aligned with your values and then prioritize. And I love that. So when you have those two things in mind, it makes decision making, I think, a lot easier, because you just know, like, does it fall in line with this value or does it not? So then it's a yes or a no. It's really clear.
Exactly. It's funny because in CBT work and therapy, we do a lot of values clarification work and stuff. And I realized that some of that really does transition into the coaching world because a lot of people, they think they know what they value or how much value they put on things. But then when they sit down and look at it, they realize, oh, this value isn't really important to me, but this one over here that I've been ignoring really is. And I need to swap those.
What are some common struggles that you see in your clients? And if you have some advice for how do you help them move through those things?
So a really common one I see is that we tend to get really hard on ourselves for not being able to live up to, like you said, the masculine kind of society standards, or get really hard on ourselves when we can't possibly do it all at the same time. One of the biggest things, the biggest narratives I've been starting to share with my clients and on social media is you can have it all, you just can't do it all. At least not right now, not today.
And not at the exact same time.
Yeah, and definitely not at the exact same time. That is the fastest route to burnout, right? But I like to tell people, because there is a lot of discourse around moms specifically, but parents in general, about, oh, you want to have it all. You want to have a career and your family and and it's like, yeah, because we can have all those things. We just can't do all the things that everyone says we have to do to get there. And so you can have it all, but you can't do it all, and not all today, not all at once, not all at the same time. That really helps people put that into perspective. A big way this has come up is like housework with a lot of my clients. They're constantly, I'm always behind on my housework. I'm never caught up. I finally had this realization. I was talking to some clients about this. You're never behind on housework because it's just there every day.
Yeah.
You're always using dishes. You're always using laundry. You're always walking on your floors. Something's always going to be out of place. So if you just tackle it in small increments, or if you can afford to or have the ability to like delegate, pay someone else to do it, that's great. But if you can't, you just do the little things you can do, and you're never behind because you literally can't catch up to something that's never ending. But we as moms get so hard on ourselves for not living up to this standard, and that is the hardest part. So I work on the mindset shifts there of how are we going to soften how we talk to ourselves so that, again, when we prioritize and do those things and they line up with our values, the rest of it doesn't have as big of a mental impact.
That makes
sense.
sense.
We don't care what society thinks. We're just like, yeah, this is how I'm living my life.
Right. Yeah. And do you notice, are there any certain tangible things that tend to be the most helpful? Like, is it time blocking? Is it Mondays are no work days so that's your like buffer time to catch up with the house or your mom life? Do you see any type of like tangible thing that's really works for a lot of people? I suppose it's different for each individual person, but
it is different for each individual person. But what I found is when I'm able to sit down with someone and really work out what they want out of life, we do find a lot of times setting out a day of, this is my day for housekeeping tasks or whatever, can be helpful. I find a weekly routine to be helpful too. Like Mondays is living room day, Tuesday is kitchen, Wednesday is the bathrooms, Thursday is however you do that. That seems to work for a lot of people. But for my ADHD mom friends, having an app like, and I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but like the Finch app or apps similar to it allows you to like have this external motivation to get those things done at the day, because then you like feed into a game and it becomes really fun. So gamifying things is actually a really good life hack for my neurodivergent moms that I work with. For my chronically ill moms that I work with, it's really energy pacing, knowing like I can only do 3 tasks a day. And if those 3 get done, then I'm good. The rest is just icing on the cake. So I kind of take those 2 approaches. So gamification for my neurodivergent moms, and then like really being specific about your energy for chronically ill moms. Within that, I like to personalize it to each client, because like a client like me, time blocking is never going to work. I can't time block to save my life. But I do have some clients that like it works really well for. And then for others, it is setting up specific routines. The biggest tangible I have for neurodivergent moms is gamification. Find a way to gamify it, whether it's through an app like Finch. There's other ones too. Finch is just my favorite. Or making up your own like gamification points system that when you complete the task or you do the thing, you get your points and then they become something for you. Gamification just works really well. And then, like I said, top 3 priorities for chronically ill, or 5, or however they know their energy, or 1 for some of my chronically ill moms. It's, I have enough capacity for one big task a day to move me forward. And then the
Mhm.
rest is icing on the cake. Then after that, it becomes a lot of mindset work of unlearning society's expectations and relearning what we can manage so that it is sustainable long term. Because society, especially right now in America, is very big on people have to match our level of productivity. And that just, it's not the way to live. It's not the way to live. So,
No, I mean, I don't have a chronic illness or any actual label from a doctor, but my energy ebbs and flows a ton. And I grew up in the like athletic world, playing basketball and all the things, and it didn't matter your energy level. I was in college playing basketball. You had to show up, you had to be there. So it was like this huge unlearning in my early 30s of, oh, I don't have to do it like this. But you're so right that the world is not set up for that. Gone down some rabbit holes about like women and our cycles and cyclical living. And we are creatures that we don't have like a natural burst of energy every single day like men do. Men have that every day. They have a burst of energy. That's how they're set up. So when I realized that, it made a lot more sense to me, or it kind of was like an aha moment of like, oh, like I am not actually designed to live my life like this every single day. And that is how I ended up in burnout, just this, I got to do more, I got to do more feeling.
right.
I like that you brought that up. And again, it like goes back to that prioritization you said of like, what big task can I get done today that I can handle based off of checking in with myself and my energy. It goes back to like your values and helping you
Yes.
decide what that is. So I like that that's all really cohesive. And I think that that can work for so many of us.
Our cycles as women play a big role in it,
Yeah.
Really, society is just not set up for women
No.
when we break it down. But for moms, especially because we carry that load of everything. And then you throw our cycles on top of it. And it's been shown time and again that our creativity, our ability, our energy, our everything does ebb and flow based cyclically on that monthly-ish cycle. And yeah, you got to take that into account too.
Right. Once I started taking these things into account, it was a lot easier to prioritize and to figure out like what am I going to do each day and each week because, there's weeks where you're flying high and having really high energy and that's when I like to batch record podcast episodes and things like that take like a big output energetically. And then there's weeks where it's like, oh, I can just do like behind the scenes work and editing work, stuff like that because I'm low energy and you have to learn those things about yourself though too. So what it took for me was doing the opposite and like trying to push through and pushing through and then forcing it, and it takes me all day to write one email to my email list versus like when I'm in that high energy I can crank out like a month's worth of stuff, but having to know that about myself, and then allowing for those days where it isn't going so great and it's not high energy, just to let those days be what they are too, because there is that pressure to work every day or, push forward every
Yeah.
day. Being okay with the days that aren't like that too is like kind of getting rid of that bar of expectation for yourself, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to ask you about podcast guesting. And obviously, you're guesting right now on my show. I've been a guest on your
Yes.
show. I know that it's a great tool for visibility and growth in your business and branding. And what have you noticed in either the little bits of guessing that you've done, or are you considering utilizing it more for that reason?
I would like to utilize podcast guesting more because I am trying to lean more into long form content now,
Mm-hmm.
which was how I started originally blogging and stuff. And I realize for me, the short form hamster wheel is just, it's not it for me.
Same.
When I have something to say, I have a lot to say, and I don't want to cut myself off at whatever everyone's attention spans is for. And so I want to go to the places where people have longer attention spans. They're there for a reason. I've enjoyed guesting and having guests because it's not just me talking into the void. It's me actually connecting with other people and realizing we are a connected society. We are a group of women, of moms, of business owners out here trying to support each other, trying to make things work. And we're doing it creatively. So I did a stint where I was specifically just coaching women in creative businesses. And I thought like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And actually, I still prefer to work with like moms who are authors and bloggers, podcasters, because I'm a creative. That's what I do. I have noticed that even if I haven't seen a business impact yet of like my bottom line, what I have seen is an increase in my confidence. I've seen an increase in my connections. I've seen an increase in my overall people engaging with my content all over the internet, not just in Instagram where vanity metrics are so important. And I've noticed that it's making me more comfortable with my message. And that alone is really valuable because it helps me hone the message more and put it out there. And the more I get to talk about what I do, the more other people hear about it and want more of it as well. And with different podcasts, I get to talk about different aspects of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that as well.
Yes, you hit on so many of the great benefits of it. Like the networking alone, like you said, we're doing it differently. So I don't want to go to a stuffy business cardy type networking
Oh, me
event.
either, for
Sounds
sure. Yeah.
horrendous.
Yes,
I'm,
absolutely.
yeah, talk about an energy drain, and I'm an introvert, and no. But then this, it's like we just skip small talk and we just like dive right in. And I love that
Yes.
about podcasts. And like you said, you're not alone. And sometimes, like I live in a small town, or, the local people might not be like our clients, that type of thing. They might be supportive and cheer you on, but they might not be like your client. And so sometimes that makes you feel really lonely in the entrepreneurial space. And so when you get to do things like this, it, like you said, it builds that community. And I think that's what, especially as women, we all thrive in. You talked about knowing your message a little bit. And so curious, interviewing, speaking about it, how do you make sure that that message is clear in your content, in your interviews? Is that, again, going back to your values? How do you navigate those pivots? You mentioned that you were working with creatives and then pivoted a little bit. Tell me about how you manage all that.
What I've realized is looking back over my content over since I started this in 2021-ish, is my goal was always the same. The work I wanted to do was always the same. My message was sometimes a little iffy.
Mm.
Whether I was talking to specifically chronically ill moms, neurodivergent moms, creative moms, it was always the same. Build a life basically that just works for you. What I'm calling it now is a burnout proof life, but build a burnout proof life that like works for you. But what I've noticed about that is it really does come back to your values and what the core of your business is for. The core of my business always was mom's mental health and making it so that moms aren't getting burnt out all the time. That was the core of my business. And that is a big value of mine because if mom's mental health is better, the whole family is better.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back to your values and your messaging is really important because then the more you create, the more blog posts you write, the more podcasts you're on, the message gets honed as long as it's staying around that central value, that central mission and message. Then you just get better at those messaging pieces. But it's taken me a while because, like I said, I'm pretty good with long form content. It's trying to put that message into a short form that's not my strong suit. But the more I do it, the more it comes back to the same central, the core is always there. So the rest of it kind of will land as it comes because the core is there.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it back to your values, and that is going to make a big difference.
You're also hitting on like practicing, putting in the repetition and the reps, and you just get better and better at it. I always wanted to feel like very clear in my message and know exactly, have all this clarity from the get-go. And it wasn't there until I let myself just be a beginner and put in those reps and try something. And so that's kind of what you're mentioning too. Like you got to just keep going and you will find it. You will hone in on it, especially if you keep going back to the value, to the why, some people call it. So I want to get to what it looks like for someone to work with you. Tell me about I know you have a program called Cultivating Cadence. Tell me about that.
Yes. So Cultivating Cadence is kind of like a group hybrid program where I coach women to get from where they are now to that burnout proof stage. And most of the women come to me are feeling that burnout. They're struggling with work-life balance. There's a lot of mental chaos going on. So in the program, they have modules to go through. And then we do weekly coaching where they can actually get feedback from me about those modules. Even though it's a group program, it's very personalized to each individual, coming from, okay, where are things out of alignment right now? What values are we missing? What values are we ignoring? Or what values are we putting too much emphasis on that you don't actually value? We start with unlearning some of the things that society is telling us, the messages, and we move into the practical side of things. Like, how are we actually going to make these changes so that once you get to the end of this program, you have all the tools you need to keep moving forward so that your life doesn't spiral out of control again, or you don't put your dreams away in favor of only focusing on your family, which isn't a bad thing. But for a lot of us women, we want both. We want something for us as well as our families. So how do we not sacrifice one for the other? Because a lot of us are out there either sacrificing family for this or this for family. And how do we manage that? How do we balance it? I work moms through the practical steps, giving them the tools so that once they're done, they have that. They have better work-life balance. They're not burned out, and they're going to avoid burnout in the future, and there's less mental chaos.
Sounds amazing. And tell us where we can connect with you.
I am on Instagram and Threads, Soul_Cadence_coaching. I do have a website, soulcadencecoaching.services. They can find information there. I am also on YouTube. So I'm growing my YouTube channel and my podcast on YouTube. So if people want to find me, hear my guest interviews, hear what I have to say just by myself, YouTube's a really good place to start. It's already got some great information on there. That's a really good low barrier to entry point of what I do and who I am.
Awesome. I'll link all that in the show notes. And there were so many pieces that someone could walk away with today. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure to add?
I would just like to hammer home, you can have it all. You just can't do it all, at least not today and not right now. That's like the biggest thing right now, because a lot of us just tend to want to try to do it all. And that's one of the biggest, it's not the only one, but it's one of the biggest stumbling blocks. Also, a lot of moms that I work with feel like they've lost themselves in motherhood. Like they don't know, they kind of forget who they were before. One of the parts of my program is integrating who they are as a mom with who they were before, with who they want to be. That's actually a part of the program that I do. I like to tell people, like, you can start to figure that out. You can start to reintegrate in like 10 minutes or less a day by turning off the kids' music and turning on music you like, or listening to a podcast you connect with, or picking back up on a hobby that you are not monetizing. So my biggest hobby is actually monetized because I still love to do it. But I do have a hobby that's not monetized that I just do because I'm learning a skill and I like to do it. So having a hobby that you're not monetizing and that you can easily or easier, it's easier to do with the kids around, because a lot of times we're not able to leave to do our hobbies, can be really helpful in you getting back to yourself.
That's a great action step to end on. Definitely something that I had to do after having 3 kids in a row. You're right. It's so easy to lose yourself and forget like what you even like to do. So that is a great way to wrap this up. So again, thanks for being on. I'm going to link everything we talked about, all the resources, all the links in the show notes. So you guys head there. All right, that's it for today. If this episode gave you a little aha, or you're thinking about guesting on podcasts now, I'd love to hear about it. Screenshot the episode, tag me on Instagram @Candice Dudley, and let me know your biggest takeaways. And don't forget to come back next Tuesday for another episode.